Welcome to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic. In this video, we are going to discuss the quintessential cards needed to build the core of a Morph commander deck with Animar, Soul of Elements, as its general. Animar, Soul of Elements debuted as the secondary commander option in the Mirror Mastery pre-constructed EDH deck from the original commander product released back in 2011. Animar is a 1/1 elemental for blue, red, and green mana that has protection from white and from black. As the colors of white and black are rife with spot removal spells, Animar's built-in protection provides layers of security for the purposes of increasing its staying power on the battlefield. This benefits us immensely, particularly because our general's remaining lines of text are the building blocks for constructing the core of this deck. Whenever we cast a creature spell, we put a +1/+1 counter on Animar. Creature spells we cast cost 1 less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Animar. The more creature spells we cast, the bigger our general becomes. And, in turn, our creature spells become cheaper and cheaper. Cheaper creature spells are great. Free creature spells are even better. And as this video unfolds, we will showcase how Animar can be the conductor of a casting creature spells for free locomotive that will run right over our opponents on the path to imminent victory. Before we get started with the core of this build, note that we can cast a creature spell through an alternative cost if that card has Morph. When a card has Morph, we can cast it face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 mana. We can turn the card face up anytime for its Morph cost. With at least 3 +1/+1 counters on Animar, we can cast our spells with Morph for free as face down 2/2 creatures. Note that Animar does not reduce the Morph cost to turn these face down cards face up. This is not a detriment to this build. These Morph creatures by themselves are not our primary win conditions. Their presence is auxiliary and nothing more. With that in mind, let's begin the core of this build with the fuel for our Animar engine. Cards with Morph. These particular creatures with Morph are included here for the purposes of opponent interaction and resource development. That is, if we decide to pay their Morph costs to turn them face up, of course. First, let's interact with our opponents. Brine Elemental has each opponent skip their next untap step. Inox Survivalist destroys target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. It has Megamorph, which means we put a +1/+1 counter on it when it is turned face up. Nantuko Vigilante destroys any target enchantment or artifact on the battlefield. We can pay 2 and a red mana and tap Dwarven Blast Miner to destroy target non-basic land. For a little unsuspecting counter magic, Void Mage Apprentice counters target spell. Stratus Dancer counters target instant or sorcery spell, while Silumgar Spell Eater counters target spell unless its controller pays 3 mana. Kayru Spell Snatcher counters target spell and exiles it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. We may cast that card without paying its mana cost for as long as it remains exiled. Our opponent is just going to love that. Kadena's Silencer counters all abilities our opponents control. Willbender changes the target of target spell or ability with a single target, which is a great way to protect Animar from spot removal. Mischievous Quanar copies target instant or sorcery spell. We may choose new targets for that copy. We also may pay 3 and 2 blue mana and turn this beast face down for the purposes of turning it face up again. Since our Morph creatures are only 2/2, we are susceptible in defending ourselves in combat, aside from chump blocking, of course. Let's mitigate this concern with some creature disruption. Ice Feather Aven returns up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. Echo Tracer returns target creature to its owner's hand. This provides a source of combat blocking shenanigans since it can target itself with this ability. Thousand Winds returns all other tapped creatures to their owner's hands. By paying a blue mana and tapping it, Dulcet Sirens forces target creature to attack target opponent this turn if able. Death Mist Raptor has Death Touch and easily could trade up with an opponent's attacking or blocking creature. We also can return it to the battlefield either face up or face down whenever a permanent we control is turned face up. Chrome Shell Crab exchanges control of target creature we control with target creature an opponent controls. That opponent gets a 3/3 crab, while we get their best creature. For additional battlefield shenanigans, Vesuvan Shapeshifter becomes a copy of another creature on the battlefield. It also has an option to turn it face down at the beginning of our upkeep. If it's our turn, Jeering Instigator gains control of another target creature until end of turn. We untap it, and it gains haste until end of turn as well. Master of the Veil allows us to turn target creature with Morph face down. Weaver of Lies allows us to reset our Morph creatures. When it is turned face up, we turn any number of target creatures with Morph other than Weaver of Lies face down. Chroma, Angel of Fury, does not have any face-up or face-down triggered abilities. She's just a 6/6 with flying, trample, protection from white, protection from blue, fire-breathing, and can't be countered. A creature with Morph with that many keyword abilities must be included. The same goes with Sagu Mauler. It has no triggered abilities, but it's a 6/6 with trample and hexproof. Now let's discuss some Morph creatures that provide us with peripheral benefits. That is, if we decide to pay their Morph costs to turn them face up, of course. Rattleclaw Mystic adds green, blue, and red to our mana pool. Mistfire Weaver gives target creature we control hexproof until end of turn, which is another great way to protect Animar. Felonite Hermit creates 4 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens and gives all Saprolings +1/+1. Whenever Unblinking Blab or another permanent is turned face up, we scry 2. Fathom Seer has us draw 2 cards. Riptide Survivor has us discard 2 cards, and then we draw 3 cards. Den Protector returns target card from our graveyard to our hand. Speaking of turning permanents face up and drawing cards, Secret Plans gives face-down creatures we control +0/+1, and whenever a permanent we control is turned face up, we draw a card. APHETTO Runecaster provides us the option to do the same, except its card drawing ability triggers whenever any permanent is turned face up. Of course, we are not limited to casting our creature spells only during the main phases of our turns. If Leyline of Anticipation is in our opening hand, then we may begin the game with it on the battlefield. We may cast spells as though they had flash. The Dalkin Orrery does the same, and if we pay a green and a blue mana and tap Alchemist's Refuge, we have until the end of turn to cast our spells as though they had flash. For any 2 mana, Winding Canyons provides creature-specific flash enablement until the end of turn. Since Animar's casting creatures for free delivery system can empty our hand very quickly, we are tasked with ensuring that we do not run out of cards. Whenever we cast a creature spell, Beast Whisperer, Primordial Sage, and Zendikar Resurgent draw us a card. Also, whenever we tap a land for mana, Zendikar Resurgent adds 1 mana of any type that land produced. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under our control, Soul of the Harvest draws us a card. Guardian Project does the same, with the added stipulation that the non-token creature cannot have the same name as another creature we control or a creature card in our graveyard. Note that our face-down 2/2 Morph creatures do not have names, and therefore they trigger Guardian Project's card draw ability when they come into play. The Great Henge follows suit, as whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under our control, we draw a card and it gets a +1/+1 counter. We also can tap it to add 2 green mana and gain 2 life. With our dynamic of casting creature spells for free and drawing cards in place, let's add a couple of win conditions in the form of Impact Tremors and Peripheral, God of the Forge. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under our control, Impact Tremors deals 1 point of damage to each creature, while Peripheral deals 2. Peripheral also is an indestructible enchantment that is only a creature if our devotion to red is at least 5, a feat that may prove difficult to reach in this build. That suits us fine, as dealing with an indestructible enchantment is much more difficult for our opponents than dealing with an indestructible creature. Our morph creatures are still valuable after they enter the battlefield, particularly because we have ways of putting them back into our hand and recasting them for free. Paradoxical Outcome allows us to return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents we control to their owner's hands. We also draw a card for each card returned to our hand this way. This could be game-ending if Animar has at least 3 +1/+1 counters and is paired with any of the direct damage-dealing enchantments we just discussed. Whenever a non-artifact permanent enters the battlefield under our control, Cloudstone Curio allows us the option of returning another permanent we control that shares a permanent type with it to its owner's hand. Through this dynamic, if we cast a creature for its morph cost, and as it enters the battlefield, then we return another creature with morph to our hand. Rinse, lather, repeat, win. Primordial Mist provides fewer hoops through which to jump. At the beginning of our end step, we may manifest a card. To manifest a card, we put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature. If it's a creature card, then we can turn it face up at any time for its mana cost. Note that manifesting a card is not casting the card, as manifesting is part of another spell or ability resolving. This means that we will not put any +1/+1 counters on Animar or reap any cast triggers from it. However, it's this enchantment's second ability that makes it the most powerful card in this build. We may exile a face-down permanent we control face-up, and we may play that card this turn. Through Primordial Mist, we can exile a face-down morph creature we control face-up, and then cast it for its alternate morph cost of 3. This is free if Animar has at least 3 +1/+1 counters. This morph creature enters the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature, which we can exile again to Primordial Mist, and loop this process over and over and over again while reaping the benefits of various cast and enter the battlefield triggers. As we alluded to earlier in this video, although our morph creatures can be utilized as cogs for some of the aforementioned game-winning engines, they are not the only win conditions of this build. Their presence is necessary for putting as many +1/+1 counters onto Animar as possible. Remember, cheaper creature spells are great. Free creature spells are even better. Free creature spells that are biggins are the best. Both Stone Coil Serpent and Walking Ballista enter the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on them. The Serpent has Reach, Trample, and Protection from Multicolored, while we can remove a +1/+1 counter from the Ballista to deal 1 point of damage to any target. Note that Walking Ballista will enter the battlefield with half of the number of counters on Animar, rounded down, due to the XX in its casting cost. However, as we have demonstrated already, it is not difficult to amass enough +1/+1 counters on our general for the purposes of considering the Ballista as a win condition in this build. A couple of other artifact creature biggins include Darksteel Colossus, which is an 11/11 with Trample and Indestructible, and Blightsteel Colossus, which has the same keyword abilities but also includes Infect, which could knock an opponent out of the game once they get their 10th poison counter. The Eldrazi Titans can be considered for inclusion here as well. When we cast Ulamog the Infinite Gyre, we destroy target permanent. It's indestructible and has Annihilator 4, which means whenever it attacks, defending player sacrifices 4 permanents. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, also has Annihilator 4, and we draw 4 cards when we cast it. When we cast Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, we exile 2 target permanents. It's indestructible, and whenever it attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of their library. Emrakul the Promised End costs 1 less to cast for each card type in our graveyard. She has Flying, Trample, and Protection from instants, and when we cast her, we gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn. That player, as well as our other opponents, may not get another turn. If Animar has enough +1/+1 counters on it in order to cast Emmy for free, and we have Cloudstone Curio and at least one other non-token, non-artifact creature on our side of the battlefield, then we could take every player's turn for the rest of the game. Hopefully, there will be another game with those same opponents. Speaking of biggins acting as win conditions, remember, through our Morph-led +1/+1 counter delivery system, Animar is going to be big. Game-ending big. We easily could put a number of +1/+1 counters on our general where it can threaten an opponent with lethal commander damage. Let's ensure that this possibility can become a reality by including Trailblazer's Boots and Prowler's Helm. The boots give equipped creature non-basic land walk, and finding an EDH player without any non-basic lands on their side of the battlefield is a feat that's as rare as winter roses. The Helm makes it so equipped creature can only be blocked by walls. We can make Animar straight up unblockable by paying 4, tapping Rogue's Passage, and targeting our general. Now let's close out this video with some additional cards that synergize with and enhance our Morph theme. Ixidor Reality Sculptor gives all face-down creatures +1/+1, and we can pay 2 and a blue mana to turn target face-down creature face-up, which is a discount secondary to nearly every Morph cost showcased in this video. Whenever another non-token creature we control dies, Eudora Gravegardener allows us to return it to the battlefield face down under its owner's control. It's a forest land and has no other types or abilities. However, if the face down card has Morph, we can pay its Morph cost to turn it face up. At the beginning of our end step, Whisperwood Elemental manifests the top card of our library. We can sacrifice Whisperwood Elemental and, until end of turn, face-up non-token creatures we control gain, when this creature dies, manifest the top card of our library. If Animar is languishing in the command zone due to overtaxation or is otherwise indisposed, then we can utilize Obscuring Ether and Dream Chisel to reduce the cost of our face-down creature spells by 1 mana each. Animar's built-in protection from white and protection from black are excellent deterrents for a plethora of our opponent's spot removal spells and abilities. Due to the importance of our general, let's uptick the layers of protection several notches by including Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, and Champion's Helm. The Greaves gives equipped creature Haste and Shroud, the Boots give it Haste and Hexproof, and the Helm gives it +2/+2 and Hexproof, as long as the equipped creature is legendary, of course. We have a few lands that put +1/+1 counters onto our general for the purposes of getting our Morph engine online. Through Llanowar Reborn's Graft ability, whenever a creature enters a battlefield, we may move a +1/+1 counter from this land onto it. We can tap Orin Reef the Vastwood and put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. We can tap Forge of Heroes and choose target commander that entered the battlefield this turn. If it's a creature, then we put a +1/+1 counter on it, and if it's a planeswalker, then we put a loyalty counter on it instead. We can pay 2 and tap Tyrite Sanctum to have legendary creature become a god in addition to its other types. We also put a +1/+1 counter on it. We can pay a green and a blue and tap Novision Heart of Progress and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that entered the battlefield this turn. Lastly, Vizier of the Menagerie allows us to look at the top card of our library at any time. We may cast creature spells from the top of our library, and we may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. How about using no mana at all? Because if Animar has at least 3 +1/+1 counters, then we can pay the alternate morph cost of our morph creature spells instead of paying our creatures' casting costs. Speaking of casting creatures, whenever a player casts a creature spell, Tangleroot adds a green mana to their mana pool. Yes, our opponents may benefit from this artifact, but we will benefit from it more. Since one of the goals of this build is to cast our morph creature spells for free with Animar, we can amass oodles of green mana by doing so with Tangleroot in play. Our opponents may thank us initially, but I can't imagine they'll thank us after the game ends. Hopefully, our time playing Magic with them won't end as well. This video provided a blueprint for building the core of a Morph commander deck with Animar Soul of Elements as the general. The cards showcased during this video are suggested options for crafting the thematic core of a Morph EDH deck, in addition to providing ways of optimizing this theme. Removal spells, disruption, ramp, and the land base can vary from build to build, and also are dependent on metagame preferences and availability. In building around videos like this one, these deck components are left in the hands of each individual deck brewer. If you found this video appealing, then be sure to check out our other building around videos through the playlist on your screen. Also be sure to check out our other deck building series, and don't forget to let me know your thoughts about the core of this Animar Morph build in the comment section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, a channel for all things magic.